A brand we hadn't heard from in a while, and it's great to finally see a little bit of action picking up once again at is the four-ringed Bavarian, that is of course Audi. And to speak about what's happening, some of the latest initiatives, and also of course finally some product news, which is great, is Head of Audi India, Rahil Ansari. You heard Rahil, so thank you firstly for your time today. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
And you heard from my preamble there that we've literally been desperately waiting for this news from you. But you know, lighter sides aside, I know it's a tough market, and one of the things that everybody says of late is that the only thing that works is new product or new initiative. You've got both coming now, so in a way, you know, it's an exciting time at Audi India.
It's an exciting time for Audi in India. I can agree to this. I think with some good products coming up in the pipeline. Of course, we have the preview of the e-tron, which is a fantastic car, the first electric car of Audi, which we will hopefully be in a position to launch end of this year or beginning of next year. Of course, we have the A6 coming up, the new A6, which will be launched by end of September, and the A8 by end of December. And we may have one or the other surprise still for the audience in terms of product launches, which is good. So I think there's something in the pipeline which...
Am I allowed to speculate and ask you? Because there's a car we've spoken about in the past, which was kind of supposed to slot between the A6 and the A8 in terms of launch.
Okay, I will not comment on this, but it starts with a Q. But
it starts
let's
with a Q.
See. Yeah?
So it's a higher number.
So let's see.
But this year, you think that'll happen this year?
Yeah, I cannot confirm anything, but I think we're trying our best to really also
squeeze it in.
Yeah, squeeze that car.
But you know, product, of course, I'll get to. But the other thing you've done today is announced a slew of new initiatives in terms of you know, what I guess the consumer benefits from. This is post-purchase. It's important to address that end of the market. Do you think it's more important today when people are sort of dithering on their buying decisions?
I think it's pretty important, especially now if you see how the past years have been moving in terms of digitalization, and you have to also set new paths. You see that a couple of initiatives, the digital initiatives in the market, but clearly the one that we have launched today is nowhere visible anywhere in India, especially also if I look at what we've launched in terms of augmented reality. It's the first market globally for Audi.
I was going to say, you've done it before, Audi has done it anyway.
So that's basically something which is great. So basically it means you can configure your A8 where the bookings are open, which we are going to launch at home in your living room. You can configure your car, you see basically your car in real size or in small size, the interior, the exterior, the way you configure it in your living room. And that's basically also the convenience factor you need. Because what we see in terms of customer development, in terms of their behavior, is time is key. Time is precious, and especially in that segment of an A8. Let's face it, the businessman, a typical businessman, does not have time and wants rather a more environment that is more personalized, and that's basically his home or his office, where he says, okay, I have the time, I have the patience to really look into all of those details. Now, of course, apart from this, I think My Audi Connect is a fantastic feature, which we have launched today, which will give you basically information on the car. And the key differentiator, the key USP is that you don't have to be physically in the car. So basically you can access that via app, and basically also if your car is in Bombay, you still know whether you're in Delhi, what happens in Bombay. So let's stick with the example of the A8 customer. The A8 customer from Delhi will basically may have an apartment in Bombay and has his car parked over there, and he can see via app that there's a disturbance, that maybe also the neighbor child has basically hit the car with a football. And he can switch on his CCTV camera and look at it and see that basically. So that disturbances are basically also mentioned on the system. These are small things. Of course, there are other advantages on this. It's convenient. You can see in which area your car is moving. You can track your car. You can define areas where your car should be moving or should not be moving to. And these are basically also features that are important, because you also want to have somehow the control of your car in terms of like knowing what's happening. It's more about the knowing part of it, and the convenience factor is pretty nice. So these things, and of course, if I look at the Audi concierge service, it's something which has to be done. I think if you're looking at wine and dine experience, if you're looking at sports events or tickets for a theater or movie, those things to book this. I think this is
this is for all buyers across segments?
This is if you buy that functionality. If you buy that functionality for my Audi Connect, it's part of the package. But for the A8 customers, it's going to be part of the purchase. Yeah, it's included.
Yeah. Two things that I found interesting when I was speaking to your guys about, understanding a little bit more about the details. First, of course, the fact that India has done it before the others is great. But the communication is only from the car to you, and not the other way around, as we've seen with some connected cars of late, where you can unlock the car or turn on the AC or whatever.
Yep.
And I get that you're sort of being cautious and not doing that yet. But turning that switch on won't take long, I'm guessing. So this is possibly step one, you think?
See, I think this is now step one. Of course, the company has to decide globally also what the future is. Sure. And but I think for the moment that's fine with us, because that's the key. Because even like driver dynamics, if you have like harsh braking or acceleration, that's part of it. Which basically gives you an idea of also what is your driver behavior, and I think that's for the beginning even a good start. Even from a long-term perspective, that's probably also interesting for insurance companies to look at drivers who are basically recommending themselves for a lower policy. Let's face it.
That'll happen. That'll happen as an outcome. The second thing I found interesting was the fact that you can do this in any existing car. I mean, unlike again some of these connected cars where you need to have the embedded SIM, here the dongle has the SIM. So that's that kind of it's liberating. Do you think that part of it becomes very interesting? Because at least for an existing customer who's been with you for a while, who already has a car, it's something new, it's something exciting that they can also get charged up about.
Definitely, I think so. Because
and you have a big car park now.
Yeah, we have a big car park of more than 60,000 cars in India, and basically cars from 2011 onwards, which is basically the majority of cars, are enabled to have that feature. So you can, and I think a lot of customers will be just interested in seeing this. And let's be honest about it, I think like the amount that we're charging for this is not really high, because then on top of like that car feature or the dongle, you also have the experience of the concierge service, and of course the other features. The other features are of course accessible to everyone, which is basically a service appointment booking online and all of this. I think this is for us a clear must-have, because we do believe that it's something which has been annoying for customers. Yeah, you need to call a service hotline. You are transferred maybe to someone else, or even if it's your assistant doing it. But I think that it's time-consuming, and to do it conveniently per click, it's great. I think this is something which we're looking forward to.
Do you think it's a good enough differentiator? Because I know the market's been tough, and just convincing people to buy even at this point has been increasingly difficult. Is this enough of a game changer, you think, to excite people? No,
I don't think so. I don't. It's something which I think is definitely a USP for the brand Audi, but it will not influence the overall market dynamics. Let's be honest about it. I think the market is really.
Let me put it this way then, that do you think it's also coming at the right time? Because you put it out right now just before this product onslaught arrives.
Yeah.
So from that perspective, do you think it makes that new product offering that much more enticing?
It makes it more attractive. It makes it definitely more attractive, because product novelties anyways in India are like always hyped. And I think everyone is waiting for eagerly,
new model is always
absolutely,
great.
Eagerly waiting for the new A6, and to combine that also, of course, with that functionality, that will definitely be a key differentiator, and that may also lead to final purchase decision. Actually, I do believe in that this will also play a crucial role in having like a small change of mind. Okay, actually, it's pretty nice what I can do with the car if I have these kind of features. Yes, I do agree. This is
even your point about an A8 buyer is very valid. That they're not coming into the showroom, so it makes sense to have the augmented reality kind of just makes the experience better for them. They have a more informed decision. But even a younger buyer who's coming in here buying an A3, they'll probably think this is cool, and that's why they will also indulge in it too.
Yeah, and that's something which has always been an asset for us. Let's be honest about it, because we have been always perceived as the youngest brand in the luxury segment, and with this kind of digital approach, of course, the customer, and especially the young customer, will also feel okay, or reaffirm. It's a reaffirmation basically of saying, hey, Audi is really the coolest and the youngest brand in the luxury segment, and we want to really also be part of that Audi family.
I think digital is cool. Now, we've for months now spoken about how, first of course it was the A8 since the 2017 debut happened globally. then it was the A6, then it was talk about the Q3, the Q8. What is the real reason these cars haven't come to India yet? I mean, what's the delay been all about? Big changes at the headquarters as well, I know.
Delay in terms of CEO. I think the main reason for it is also the change to WLTP in Europe last year. The emission changes that have basically also had an impact for us in terms of a delay of market introduction, and that's basically the main reason for it. This has had an impact for us, of course, because that also meant for us, and not only for India but also for other markets, delayed introduction to the market, which is of course not ideal. Yeah, but at the same time, we gave us the opportunity to work on different things. Let's also be honest about it, because if you had those kind of introductions, you may not have done one or the other initiative that we are doing. And apart from like that digital topic, I think one of the key topics that we have been focusing upon is, and you said it, we have a large car park, is Approved Plus, the used car business. Used car business is basically playing a crucial role, especially in times of market slowdown, which we see now, experiencing now. Used car is one of the key factors for profitability and for basically having a sustainable growth for dealer partners. And when I always, I said it in a couple of interviews to you also, sustainable growth always sounded like a buzzword, but it's not. It's not like in the sense of like I have to grow with new car sales, but I have to grow in terms of like making profits. The company or our dealer partners, they have to earn money, and used car is part of the business and will be crucial part of the business in the future.
But is Audi Approved Plus now in every dealership across the country, or is it being introduced in everyone?
So we have quite a few facility partners and we have process partners. That's a differentiation. Facility
because
partners,
dealer partners would love it. I mean, they would want to get.
But it's increasing now. So from process partners where you don't have basically the display of used cars, it's changing now. So process partner basically means you don't have a facility, but now here with Audi Gurugram, you basically have a facility partner.
It's big, yeah.
It's big. It's a 14-car display for used cars. So you basically also see that there is an opportunity in the market that is lying around, not only in the NCR but overall in India.
All right, and of course here for sure you have a big car park. I do know that, but let's get to the product, the exciting part of the conversation now. A8, of course, you said you've already started to take certain bookings, and I think that buyer has a good understanding already of what that product offering is going to be about. Could A6 be the exciting sort of dark horse in a sense, because that segment has kind of gone a little cold of late, and yet it's not as if the buyer has disappeared. Do you think you have expectations from that?
I do.
And the new A6 is great. I mean, it's
the new A6 is a beautiful
miles
car.
away from the last one.
Yeah, totally. I fully agree with you. Especially if I look at the interior, it's like basically a small A8. So you have the functionalities, and it's a pretty neat car. It's pretty good looking. Yeah. Drives well, good drivability. It will make a change in the segment. I do believe so. Of course, it will not completely revolutionize the entire market dynamics. Let's face it, I think it will not change the game in the sense of like the entire market will now be positive and there's going to be a huge growth of this. Yeah. This will not happen, but at the same time I do think that the car will do well, because people in that segment would possibly also consider a higher car, would possibly consider buying a competitive brand, a higher version of it, or possibly also later on an A8, and they say, hey, wow, it's a great time actually to buy, especially because we're launching it before the festive season, or in the festive season, end of September. That's a great opportunity basically also to get a hold of those customers that say, I want to buy a car basically this year.
I also asked that from the point of view, Rahil, of this whole sedan versus SUV thing, because even, of course, I know traditionally the Q range has always done really well for you as well. It is like that now for the other brands who have been introducing more and more SUV models. From that perspective, do you think the A6 could bring some buyers back, maybe from the other side?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. It's a valid point. And we've seen that tendency. It was 70% sedan, and which has then shifted to basically 50% now. It's 50% sedan, and actually expectation level is also that it's going to be 40% next year. But at the same time, I do believe, and you're right in saying this, that traditional SUV buyers or people who are more inclined to buy an SUV may consider their purchase decision. So let's make a direct comparison. If you're a possible Q5 customer, you may also tend to buy an A6 because the A6 is just a fantastic car. Not saying that the Q5 is not, it's a great car, but I do think that one or the other customer will definitely decide more for an A6.
the Q range now. I mean, of course, we spoke about the one we shall not name, which is a very interesting car. It also allows you to possibly go more into the, lifestyle is the wrong word, but because that car is not sort of, your traditional SUV, do you think that could be an interesting space as well? Because it becomes more about driving, it becomes more about agility, and it becomes more about urban use rather than off-roading necessarily.
I think overall that segment, that SUV segment in the higher end, whether it's like a Q7, whether it's the Q8, or whether it's an e-tron, let's name the Q8 or the e-tron, these are cars that will definitely create, and especially the e-tron, they will create a buzz. Yeah. In the segment. Now, of course, the government has pushed electrification. Let's be honest about it. It's a great step for us, from 12 to 5% electrification in terms of GST. That will definitely enable also cars like an e-tron to be more accessible. And of course, people want to make a statement, lifestyle statement. An e-tron driver will, in probably large part of the circumstances, not be chauffeur driven. He will want to drive on his own, because these are exactly those people to make a statement, I'm driving an electric car and I'm driving it on my own. And it's a cool car, it's a great car, it has all the SUV features. Apart from this, of course, the virtual mirrors and a lot of other nice features that you basically see. So I think it will definitely do well once we bring it to India. And a Q8, not confirming that the Q8 is coming, but the Q8 could of course potentially do well in India, because it's a great size. It's basically a good balance of an SUV like a Q7, but a little sportier, a little more dynamic, where you say, hey, that's exactly
when you don't really want that bulk.
Yeah, you don't need that space, but you also decide to drive on your own sometimes, but you still have that road presence.
The other end of that Q range, which at one time was really firing for you, was of course the Q3. Mm-hmm. The new Q3 has been out again, so there's been a lot of questions about when is that going to come to India. Mm-hmm. Do we at least have some sort of a time frame on that now? Because that segment is kind of hotted up again.
I won't confirm.
Right, no. So it's not like we've forgotten about it. It's not like it's not coming. Let me put it that way.
Yeah. So we do have a time frame, but it's unfortunately a bit too premature to confirm this. We still have some of the existing, or the old Q3 that we're selling, but that's basically end of this month. We are basically out of Q3. But of course, it's part of our plans. Let's be honest about it, but I cannot confirm to you when exactly.
All these other cars we spoke about will come before that anyway, because you have your hands full, let's say.
Yeah.
Globally, what we've been seeing, of course, besides the push on electrification, which is obviously a huge part of what Audi as a brand is doing, there has also been this whole move towards kind of going between segments, trying to look at new product concepts and not just the traditional formats. How much of a bearing do you think that will have on the Indian buyers' overall perspective on the brand, you think, going forward?
So, are you looking at a particular segment, or like?
Well, I mean, like how you went to a Q2 the first time, or even the Q8. I mean, the fact that it's not your typical segmented stuff, but somewhere in between.
So I think the Indian buyer is probably the most curious in the world in any ways.
I mean, we get queries about Q2, if you please.
And it's like novelties are always something that create a buzz in the market, let's be honest. And any segment that we would move in, that we are not in yet, would probably be a one that is successful. While you may cannibalize one or the other segment, let's take the example of the Q2. If you brought a Q2 in, it will also cannibalize the Q3. Let's be honest about it. But at the same time, I would confidently say that both of the cars would do well in the market. I do also think that there's potential in the future for a car like an A1. It's probably a bit too premature, but in the next 1 to 2 years, there could be also a right timing to bring in the A1. Once the market stabilizes a little bit, I think that would be one of a good opportunity to bring this car and test the waters over there as well.
Is the door closed on the Q2? Because a couple of years ago there was a lot of talk about Q2.
No,
it's not. Because I agree with you that even if you look at it, yes, okay, the cannibalization point taken, you might also attract a buyer who you don't attract today. I mean, that product has that much differentiation, let's say. You are now, of course, ready to hand the baton over to your successor. It's been a very tough period that you were here in India from a business point of view, and yet you had some products, you had a lot of excitement in terms of awards and lots of high points as well. What do you take back?
Take back, I think, from a professional perspective, I take back it's probably the most dynamic market to work in, most challenging. I appreciate that. That makes the work more fun. I love challenges. But it was probably also the most challenging in terms of policy changes, let's be honest about it, and the luxury segment.
Or lack of changes sometimes.
Yeah, or lack of changes sometimes, and the luxury segment is probably not the one that is the best example of really favorable changes. Yeah. But it was overall a great experience. Yeah, I will definitely miss that from a professional perspective, because I think the skill set that you have in India when it comes to the auto trade, you will have rarely in other parts of the world. I think also the commitment, the dedication and passion of people, whether it's within Audi India or whether it's in the Audi partner network, is huge and immense. And the transformation that we have done in the past 2.5 years was big. There will be a further transformation needed, yeah, when it comes to a push to electrification, when it comes to push to hybrids and everything. But I will definitely miss that part of it. I would have wanted to be part of this, but yeah, sometimes you cannot choose when you get a great opportunity in terms of the timing. From a personal perspective, I will definitely miss, of course, the team. I think that's also the Indian part in me that says, okay, I will miss the culture, miss the people, because it's also something which is like the emotions, yeah, that you have. That Indian part of me, of course, which will miss the entire surroundings of being in a buzzing city like Bombay, where you have 24/7 action, whether it's in the auto trade, whether it's in the evenings, bars, restaurants, everything. It's pretty nice. I will definitely miss that buzz from a personal perspective. But overall, a great experience. I wouldn't want to miss it.
The food, don't forget the food.
Food, of course, yes, yeah, but
that
has pros and cons, I would say.
Well, let's not go there. The last point then, of course, through your tenure, you always have a regular dialogue with headquarter. As you go back there now, and you're going to be part of the headquarter, what is that message? Because there's been so much confusion around diesel. I know you already mentioned policy, not being favorable, but whether it's diesel, whether it's taxation, whether it's the lack of certain policies when it comes to hybrids, let's say. It is a confused message, but what is the positive that you can take out of that and sort of reassure them that, yeah, India is still a place you need to focus on?
I think reassurance, and that was part of my job, and that's something also I will be always a brand ambassador for India. I do believe in the Indian market. It's a great market. It's a
which you were even before you took this post. I remember that.
So it's a great market, has a great potential. Yes, it's unpredictable. You will have some policies which may change overnight, but overall, I think it's a market that deserves clear attention and clear focus as a strategic market, because it will grow. Yeah, we will. It will take now a little bit longer. Yes, we know it. The market has a slowdown. Will take a few years longer to recover, but the market has a clear potential, and but the market will also develop in a clear direction for me. I think the future will be electric, the future will be petrol, and the future will be hybrid. I do not see, and that's basically also the tendency in all the segments, whether it's a volume segment or the luxury segment. I do not see diesel as part of the long-term strategy in India here. But of course, that does not mean that we will not bring diesel. Our strategy is that we will bring petrol only at the beginning. That starts basically with the A6 and the A8, and we will observe the market. Of course, if the customer demand clearly expects diesel, we will also have to reconsider this. But for the moment, I do think that the shift to petrol is clear for us.
But this includes existing models post-April as well, or petrol only? I mean, cars that are already here which do have diesel on them.
Yeah, for the moment, no. For the moment, it doesn't have an impact.
No. So post 1st April, will you have the new BS6
That's not
version?
decided yet. That's something we will see, to be honest. Yeah. So for the existing one, we will definitely observe on how the development and how the acceptance of petrol is. And if we see, so basically we had like 90% diesel in 2015, and now we will this year have about 35 to 40% already petrol. And next year it's going to be minimum 50%. I think the petrol is
so
on
you
the
will
rise.
Continue with diesel then next year. It's not like you're stopping diesel next year.
It's not that we're stopping, but I think the tendency is also clear that it's not only like something which was done intentionally from our side, but we basically made both available. It's the customer's choice, and the customer choice clearly also indicated that petrol is on the rise. Yes, it was also favored by certain policies in the NCR or other regions of the country, but clearly we see that also in regions which have been stereotypically or traditionally diesel markets, like even Gujarat or like even south in Bangalore. You see that shift happening towards petrol slowly.
All right. Well, we know that none of this is going to be resolved anytime soon. We know it's going to be chaotic for a while, but it's always been great to have you, both from an interaction point of view and of course for the market too. So we will all miss you.
Thanks.
Thank you for your time here, and of course you are going to be at the headquarters. So I personally hope to continue to interact when I am in Ingolstadt.
Please visit anytime. I'll take you for a ride.
Look forward to that. Thank you
From
again.
Munich to Ingolstadt. Thanks.